Hey everybody, it's Allie and welcome to our Y&R Chat for Sunday, February 25th, 2018. Oh, Chelsea! It didn't have to be this way. There were other options. It's really been hard to watch a character that I've come to really like and respect fall from grace so drastically. Last month, Chelsea was Genoa City's sweetheart, and now she's public enemy number one. It's been difficult to watch, and I want to make sure that I'm distinguishing between the character and the story, because my biggest point of confusion over the course of Chelsea's story has been her motives. Why is she doing what she's doing? And from the beginning, I assumed that the Chelsea 2.0 scam was all about Chelsea feeling threatened by Victor, and that didn't ever really make sense to me, to be so rash when Victor wasn't that much of a threat. But now, in light of everything that happened this week, I think that Chelsea just felt threatened by herself in a way. She was her own biggest enemy. She stole $250,000 from Fenmore's as a financial safety net in case that she ever screwed up so badly in one way or another that she needed to get out of town and start a new life somewhere. I think that in her heart, Chelsea may have wanted to be a good soccer mom, to be a good wife to Nick, to be a good employee, to be a good citizen, but I don't think that she trusted herself that she could do it. I think that Chelsea felt like there was something broken in her core that would never let her live a normal life. So she sabotaged herself. I think Chelsea, she knew that federal prison, that losing her children, that losing Nick, that losing her business was a consequence of the scam. It didn't just occur to her yesterday. She knew it. She did it anyway. She's not stupid. She did it anyway. In fact, she made the whole situation way worse at every single turn. Every single turn was a mistake. All of this was preventable. Even after she stole the money, everything that has happened was preventable. First of all, I really think she made an error of judgment in switching Victor's status from ally to enemy. She was in with Victor. They were in collusion on the whole paternity secret thing. They were sort of developing an understanding, and at some point Chelsea decided that Victor was an enemy when I think that Victor could have been the complete solution for her. I think that Victor tried to help her cover up the mess that she made with Lauren by offering Lauren the payoff. And also, I think that I think that she could have prevented all this by teaming up with Victor, but also I think that she underestimated and grossly mishandled Phyllis. I think that the way she handled Phyllis was really kind of insane. Like, after Phyllis confronts Chelsea about the stolen money, rather than seeking help from Victor or trying to appeal to Phyllis and Lauren, she makes it all infinitely worse by offering up her biggest lie that she's been keeping to Phyllis on a silver platter. She tells Phyllis that Nick is not Christian's father, as if one had anything to do with the other. The whole stolen money scam with Fenmore's had nothing to do with Nick and the paternity secret, but she offers it to Phyllis anyway, and thereby arms Phyllis with even more ammunition against her. That was the point where she destroyed her own life. Phyllis was trying to give Chelsea a get out of jail free card, if you think about it, by saying, okay, I will not turn you into the police. I will let all of this go if you just break off your engagement with Nick. Wouldn't that have been a better alternative to federal prison, Chelsea? That would have been a better alternative to letting Nick find out that he was raising his brother's son. It would have been a better alternative to leaving the country with one or both of the children. At first, Phyllis doesn't even believe what Chelsea has told her about the paternity. Phyllis believes that Chelsea is only bluffing in order to get her to back off. But Phyllis doesn't just back off. Phyllis never backs off. She decides to investigate, and she teams up with Sharon to investigate Chelsea's claim. I feel like Sharon and Phyllis working together was probably the best part of this entire storyline. I feel bad for saying that, but Phyllis and Sharon made adorably entertaining sidekicks for one another, and the irony of them working together to investigate a paternity secret is rich. Isn't it? I mean, Sharon has kept at least 2 paternity secrets from Nick specifically that I can think of, and Phyllis's entry into Genoa City was based around the Danny Daniel paternity lies. So it was great to see these 2 people who have some experience, some expertise in this area working together to bust somebody else with the paternity secret. I thought Phyllis talking to Sharon about the DNA results and mentioning that she used to work in a DNA lab in New York. I thought that was like a deep pull into Phyllis's roots, into her history of the show. I totally remember that. Working with Sasha at that DNA lab. Oh, that was a long time ago, you guys. Well, the thing is, Phyllis realizes that Adam's DNA has to be on file at the police department. So if she can get that information, then she can compare it to the DNA test that Sharon had done in the whole light of the Christian Sully maternity reveal. So since Sharon works at the GCP at the crisis center, she can get Adam's DNA profile from the police computers with a little help from Kevin Fisher, and the results do confirm to Phyllis and to Sharon that Adam is indeed Christian's father. I was a little bit disappointed in that. Was anybody kind of hoping that the twist would be that they'd get these DNA results and realize that Adam and Christian weren't a match, that maybe Nick was actually Christian's father? That was my hope, but it didn't turn out that way. Now, though, Phyllis and Sharon, and specifically Phyllis at this point in the week, is really left with a crisis of conscience. What to do with this info? Do you tell Nick that he's raising his brother's son and risk having him, lose his son or who he thinks is his son? Or do you just keep this a secret and watch Nick live a lie? Neither option feels really good. Phyllis, though, decides that the best course of action is to just back off for now. She feels like she's not going to tell Nick the truth. She's just going to find another way to bring Chelsea down. The flip side of that, though, is Sharon. They were on different sides of the fence, I think, a little bit as far as what to do with the information they found. Sharon's in a specifically awkward position as someone who has kept this kid's paternity and maternity a secret once. I mean, she's someone who's kept like more than one paternity secrets from Nick, and I guess she's just finally learned her lesson after all these years, all these times about keeping paternity secrets. So she wants to tell Nick. She even dials the phone to tell Nick. She's like practically getting a couple syllables out on telling Nick, when all of a sudden we see a gloved hand grab a coffee pot and smash Sharon over the head with it. Flash to the very next episode, and we see Chelsea's face holding the coffee pot. Chelsea has smashed Sharon over the head with a coffee pot, once again making her situation so much worse. Mistake. I mean, now she can add assault to the list of all of the criminal activity she's done. At this point, I am realizing that the Chelsea I'm looking at is not really the Chelsea that I've known over the past couple of years. This woman has come completely unhinged. I honestly was not expecting her to go that far. I was not even really expecting for Y&R to reveal it. I don't know if you guys had the notion of, like, on that cliffhanger, thinking that we were never going to know who smashed Sharon over the head, and there was going to be a whodunit or an implication maybe that Chelsea did it, but never a reveal. But that's not what happened. I mean, it was straight up Chelsea mashing Sharon over the head with a coffee pot. Nicky does walk in. She discovers Sharon knocked out on the floor. Chelsea has to duck behind a counter real quick, steal some money out of the cash register to try to stage it to make it look like it was a robbery, and she somehow slips out of the front door, I suppose, or the back door in all of this commotion. Sharon is transported to the hospital in this emergency room with Nicky there, Nick there, and Mariah there, all worried about whether or not she's even going to make it. Phyllis hears about Sharon's accident, knows that it's no accident, and goes to the hospital trying to convince Nick that not only has Chelsea been lying to him the way Phyllis was trying to convince him previously, but now Phyllis is trying to convince Nick that Chelsea was actually the one who knocked out Sharon. Nick is not hearing it. And oddly, neither is Sharon. First of all, in the old days, Sharon would have been in a coma for weeks, and then she would have woke up, had amnesia, but this story did move really, really fast. Phyllis gets into Sharon's room, tries to convince her that Chelsea was the one who whacked her, just to keep Sharon quiet over the paternity secret, and even Sharon had a hard time believing it. Sharon had an opportunity to talk to Paul about who could have been the one that done this to her, and she didn't take that opportunity. She didn't even let slip any suspicion in Chelsea's direction. Now, all this time that all of this is going on, the boys, Christian and Connor, are staying overnight at Nicky and Victor's house until Chelsea shows up at the door with crazy eyes, saying that she's here for the boys. Creepily saying, I'm here for the boys. And this was not the plan. Nicky's a little bit suspicious of Chelsea. Something about this doesn't seem quite right. But of course, Nicky lets her take the children. It's not like Chelsea's gonna kidnap them and leave the country or something, right? Flash to Chelsea in the car with the two kids in the back seat. She's speeding into the night and presumably to an airport somewhere where she's gonna fly off into who knows where. Phyllis is the one who's really moved forward the story. Phyllis is the one who starts putting it all together. She calls Victor to hopefully get some reassurance that at least the children are safe. Gee, I hope Victor's able to do something here. I hope he has like a tracking device on Chelsea's car. Oh, good, he does. Good. We're safe. No, Victor, the man himself, goes to track down the car's location on the side of the road. He flips open the door, and who's sitting inside in the driver's seat? It's Jordan. Nice little surprise twist. Victor thinks he's caught Chelsea, but it's actually Jordan running decoy in Chelsea's car. She's ditched that original. She's in a new car, and she's telling the boys that they're gonna go on a secret trip. This is to me, this is where the story gets the most sad. There's this kind of eerily calm, dark moment in the car where Chelsea's finally alone. And we know that this has been a whirlwind of craziness in her mind and in her life, but there's this little moment of quiet in the car, and she finally has the opportunity to start thinking about the life that she's leaving behind. And we see her experiencing all of these memories in the rearview mirror, the life that she's leaving in the rearview mirror, her entire love story of falling in love with Nick, having sex with Nick on Christmas, and then having sex with Nick on New Year's, and even having sex with Nick this past Valentine's Day. There's just so much sex to remember, and it makes her sad. No, I'm just kidding. Look, I don't doubt that Chelsea loved Nick. I absolutely think Chelsea loved Nick. I'm thinking back to that conversation that Chelsea had with Sharon at the coffee house, and I imagine that Chelsea loved Nick, but Nick could never really identify or understand that brokenness inside of her the way that Adam could. That was, part of what the connection was between her and Adam. He had an understanding of what it was like to be a broken person. And at the beginning of the week, Chelsea was suggesting that that she and Nick should have a quickie wedding out of town, that they should just get married. And it makes, I thought at first on the surface that maybe that was all about her not wanting him to testify against her or just trying to secure him in some way. But I think it was revealed that what she was sort of dually aiming at there was an expedited adoption process. She wanted both, she and Nick, to become the legal guardians of both of the two children. So I thought, in the wake of all of the mess that she's made of her relationship and of her life, that action to me did speak to Chelsea's desire to build her family, even if she was knowing deep down that she was not capable of being the person that everyone thought that she was. In the rearview mirror, Chelsea's thinking of Nick, she's looking at Christian, and she's realizing the reason that she never told Nick the paternity secret in the first place. She's remembering the reasons behind keeping the secret in the first place. The two boys have become so close that they're like brothers. She knows how much Nick loves Christian. She also knows how much Christian has been through just trying to have a stable home and a stable family. And she realizes that on top of everything that she's just done, she cannot take Christian with her. Connor's her son, but she cannot do that to Nick and Christian. So she drops Christian off at Victoria's house, rings the doorbell, and splits. Victoria calls Nick, and she tells him that Christian has mysteriously showed up there when Nick thinks that Nick has no idea any of this has gone on. He thinks that the boys are staying overnight at Grandpa's house. He gets up to leave to go get the kid, and that's when he discovers that Chelsea has left him a note in an envelope with the engagement ring inside. And the haunting words, "By the time you read this, I will be gone." Ugh. That note. Oh, that note. I listened to it twice. I listened to Nick read it twice. Chelsea does her best to explain her actions, her frame of mind, her love for him. But the interesting thing was that this note was written when she was still planning to take both of the boys. So she's not only explaining why she's gone, but she's also explaining that she's taking Christian too. I am glad that the show gave Chelsea that redeemable moment in Nick's eyes by allowing it to be obvious that she chose not to take Christian from him. But now we're still left, even if Chelsea has left, we're still left with the paternity secret. It has really just transferred ownership from Chelsea to Phyllis and Sharon. And I don't think Phyllis is going to tell Nick. I think that Phyllis is just going to have the satisfaction of being right and of getting evil Chelsea out of Nick's life. But Sharon is stuck with like one heck of a headache, no medication, and this burden of truth now, right? I think that Sharon, if she wanted to tell him before getting whacked over the head, I think she's gonna want to tell him after. I think all of that was just a delay. I absolutely think Sharon will be telling Nick the truth. It's obvious, right? Isn't it kind of so obvious that Y&R is going to use this as a way to bond Nick and Sharon? I think they're absolutely going to be reunited over this. I can see them raising Christian together. And I'm a Nick and Sharon fan. I would love to see that eventually down the road, Nick and Sharon together, raising Christian, but I can't shake the feeling of sadness that Chelsea had to be totally sacrificed to do it. Like, her legacy on the show has to be totally sacrificed to do it, because what she's done is really, really bad. Nobody's gonna want to forgive her, and it has to leave kind of a bad taste in your mouth where Chelsea's concerned, and I don't want that. I would have much rather seen Chelsea leave on somewhat of a positive note. Like, the turn in her character came out of nowhere. She was, the whole thing, she was a good girl, and then 2 to 3 weeks passed and she's turned into a bad girl again, and now she's as good as gone. I'm not sure if that is a satisfying end for me. Is it for you? YRChat.com. Did Y&R give Chelsea a good goodbye to Genoa City? I want you to go to the website, vote in that poll. Leave me your comments on how you feel about the resolution of this storyline. YRChat.com. Did Y&R do a good job with this goodbye for Chelsea, or are you kind of left with a bad taste in your mouth? Let me know. The drama of Chelsea this week was so all-consuming for the show, but I still want to kind of highlight some of the other great moments that happened inside of that story, and specifically Mariah supporting Sharon and being there for Sharon in the hospital, and seeing her take on that sort of motherly role in wanting to protect Sharon and keep the outsiders away. And I just love this relationship. The Mariah Sharon relationship is one thing that I think this current writing team has done right. They've really allowed us to have some movement on that, some growth on that. Mariah and Sharon have had a rocky road. Mothers and daughters have a natural bond that is formed at birth, and it develops over time. But Mariah and Sharon didn't have that. Mariah was taken from Sharon at birth and not discovered that was even her daughter until a couple of years ago. So these are two women who haven't even known each other that long. So it can't be assumed that natural bond would still be there. And I appreciate that Y&R is taking the time to acknowledge that, and also to move forward the growth of that bond. I mean, it's taken how long and how much time for them to get here. I also like seeing a little bit more from Cameron Grimes than just the controversial love story that they've been highlighting over the past couple of months. I mean, I don't know if Mariah and Tessa are ever going to work out, but Kevin was in town this week to talk to Mariah about it. He was here for more than just GCPD password that helped Sharon and Phyllis connect the dots on the paternity secret. And he did sit down and have a conversation with Mariah. I believe that Kevin was the first or one of the first people that Mariah confided in about her feelings for Tessa. So it felt right that they would have an opportunity to sit down and just talk about it. And interestingly, Mariah, in talking about it, did seem more secure, more confident, I guess, in the fact that she was questioning her sexuality. She tells him, yes, I'm attracted to women, but I'm also attracted to hot guys too. So that was an interesting little clue or facet, I suppose, into what's currently going on in Mariah's mind, what the status is. And Kevin was very supportive. I mean, look, some people never question their sexuality. Some people are constantly questioning their sexuality, and some people never come to terms with it either. So there's certainly a spectrum, and I'm not sure if Y&R in doing this and having that conversation were they trying to broach a way to getting a conversation going on the show about sexuality, or are they just leaving the door cracked for Mariah to become eventually attracted to a male character someday, realizing that maybe they just painted her into a corner considering there are no other gay characters on the show? Hilary learns that she is not pregnant, and that's a major blow to her. She is very disappointed. She's put a lot of hopes and dreams onto this as a life goal, and now it's currently not going to work out for her. I liked the moment where she sat down with Jack. Jack comforts her, and he tries to convince her to just admit what she really wants. It's not a baby. It's a family with the man that she loves. The problem is the man she loves has just discovered her role in Juliet's lawsuit against Cain. Again, 2 steps forward, 1 step back. Devon hands that flash drive that he discovered of the video evidence directly over to Lily and Cain. Doesn't even comment on it, just stops by, puts it in Lily's hand, says, just watch it. Let me know if you need to talk. I mean, Devon he's like, I am not going to make any excuses for Hilary. I don't really want to be caught up in this. I'm just going to give this to you and let be what will be. Lily and Cain watch the video of Juliet confessing to Hilary that Cain never sexually harassed her, and they just stand there, I think, taking a minute to let the truth sink in about how that lawsuit almost destroyed him. The thing, though, that eats at me a little bit was that there was very little talk about Juliet's role in her own lawsuit, yet they are immediately incensed that Hilary knew it was baseless all along. I get it. I am not trying to be a complete and total Hilary apologist for this situation. Hilary did a bad thing. I just want to mention, though, that to say that the lawsuit broke up Lily and Cain is kind of a gross oversimplification of the story. Lily and Cain mostly had some problems over Cain's infidelity. That doesn't mean that they don't have a right to confront Hilary, though, and they did. They pounced on Hilary in Devon's office, and it's right as Hilary is telling Devon how much she cares about him. She is finally acknowledging the feelings that I think she was afraid to admit out loud, even to herself, much less admit to him. I was very surprised with how raw she was with Devon. She was bearing her soul with absolute confidence that he would return the sentiment. I was also really surprised, though, by how flippant she was when Lily and Kane confronted her, wanting her to confess to what she'd done or just own up to what she had done. I mean, she was in the middle of this moment with Devon. Lily and Kane come in. They try to, they were not friendly about it at all, but they confront her about it. And Hilary does try to kind of explain it all away. I just got this sense that her view on it was, it was ancient history. What does it even matter? You guys are back together now. Who cares? Let's not focus on it. But it does matter to Lily and Kane. That's the point. It matters to Lily and Kane. It was something that she did to hurt them, especially when they thought they had forged friendships with her. And, probably more importantly to Hilary, the fact that she did this matters to Devon. It matters to Lily and Kane. It matters to Devon. There's no way that Devon now is just going to ignore another Hilary storm and jump right back into the boat with her. So, it seemed like she was very unapologetic toward Lily and Kane, but much more apologetic toward Devon. He tells her, you know what, I will still work with you. I am still committed to working with you. That's a business decision, but I don't even want to look at you right now. He won't even communicate with her directly either. Everything that they are saying to each other at this point is supposed to be filtered through Tessa. He's sending Tessa to do any business conducting with Hilary that needs to be done. Oh, Hilary, it is coming back on you. Lily also told Victoria about Hilary's role in nearly bringing down Brash and Sassy with that lawsuit. And so Victoria also gets up in Hilary's face and gets a few good jabs of her own. Oh, she said to her, I want to ask you a question. Are you a genetic sociopath, or did you just lack basic human emotions due to some mishap that you had as a child? I thought, that was a burn, but it was kind of a fair question. It was a good line at least. But Victoria did make some good points against Hilary. She said people's emotions never seem to factor into any of the things that you do. Fair point. The one bone of contention that I have with Victoria and her whole rant on Hilary was I didn't like Victoria saying that Hilary owes her biggest apology to Juliet. An apology, yeah, okay, I guess Hilary would owe Juliet an apology. She did dog her, kind of turn on her, and, baited her into this whole thing and then abandoned her. But, I'm sorry, Hilary encouraged Juliet to go through the lawsuit, but she certainly didn't force Juliet to go through with that lawsuit. Nobody's focusing on Juliet's own culpability here. It was Juliet's decision. She's ultimately the one who would be responsible for that action. Another Billy Hilary moment this week. Billy buys Hilary a drink and sits down with her, gives her the chance to just be open and honest with somebody about why she did what she did. So Hilary lets it all hang out. She admits to Billy that her true motive in supporting Juliet's lawsuit was to make Lily squirm. I think we all kind of knew that. Hilary views Lily as being so perfect. Perfect Lily on a perfect pedestal. She has no dark side. She has no struggles. Her life is perfect, perfect, perfect. And as someone who has a dark side, and as someone who is clearly imperfect, Hilary wanted to watch Lily suffer. But welcome to the human race, Hilary. Watching someone else suffer will never make you feel better. And she realized that. Hilary realizes it. She tries to backtrack it. And Billy gives her some good advice. Stop telling people that you've changed. start showing people that you've changed. I think she has done degrees of that over the past couple of months. She did turn her show around. She has been less gossipy. It's just that now things are coming back to her that she was doing before she had that realization. Here's the part where I sort of I started feeling more icky about Hilary though. Billy tells her, do something good. Show people that you're actually sorry. And her way of doing that was to fire up the camera and to go on screen, on live, on the Hilary Hour and do this on-air segment about lies where she was in a veiled way talking about her own lies, and she was apologizing to the people that she had hurt without saying exactly what she had done. It was icky. It fell completely flat. She thought that it was going to be met with sympathy and with praise, but it immediately fell off the mark to me. Like, building trust is something that's going to take personal effort, a personal connection, personal, mea culpa. It's going to take time. It's going to take effort and time, and it's not something that's going to be accomplished in a 30-minute TV segment. You can't just go, hey, did you guys see what I did online? You forgive me though, right? I mean, it was great, right? So I'm forgiven. Everything's cool. The whole thing felt like more of a PR statement. I don't know. It would have been easier for me to forgive her if it didn't seem also self-serving. I don't know. The other thing is that it feels like at the end of the day, the only person whose opinion Hilary cares about at all is Devon. I mean, she doesn't care about Lily and Kane. Fine, they're not her biggest fans anyway. But she cares about Devon's opinion more than she even cares about her own. It's just all about Devon. And she even said this week and implied on a couple of occasions, it's fine, Devon will forgive me. It's kind of our thing. I mess up, Devon forgives me, we get over it, we move on. Well, that's not happening this time. Devon saw her on-air apology, and he sits down with her, and rather than giving her the praise she thought was coming, he reprimands her because apparently using the show for her own personal agenda is apparently a breach in her contract, and he tells her, don't ever do that again. I'm not firing you, but don't ever do that again. And then he gets up and then he walks over to his beautiful, talented girlfriend and he gives her a big old smooch right in front of Hilary. The whole thing is it's entered into icky territory for me. I just think that Hilary needs to stop focusing on Devon right now, at least, because it's similar, I think, in a way to Chelsea and what Chelsea's gone through. There's something that's broken inside in Hilary, and I think that she will be able to find love. I think she will be able to be happy. I think she would be able to blossom as the woman that she wants to be if she finds a way to repair that brokenness and not just run away the way that Chelsea did. We started out the week inside of this flashback / extended scene from back when JT first came into town. So, apparently, after JT lied to Paul and Christine about Nicky transferring all that money from Victor's account, Paul and Christine actually caught him in his lie. Remember, he had reported that, that everything was fine. There was no mishandling of money. And we thought he got away with it scot-free. But this flashback / extended scene is now telling us that he didn't get away with it. It's being revealed to us now that Paul and Christine caught him, and now they're forcing him to work undercover for the police to bust Victor, or he's gonna be the one in hot water. He's officially undercover. He's deep undercover too, y'all. Deep. He is in a sensitive position at Victor's company with access to secure files now, but he's also sleeping with Victoria. A lot. I guess that's just a side benefit. Is that just a secondary goal of JT's? Like, if he's being forced into this undercover situation, is he just partaking in the Victoria just as a little something happiness on the side? Does he really want a relationship with her? Is he just hoping that she'll forgive him once he completes the job and the truth comes out? Like, hey, yeah, I totally destroyed your father and your company and your life, but look at this amazing job that Paul offered me. He's also brokered himself a part of the deal to get a job at the end of all this. So, I don't know. First of all, I was not crazy about Paul and Christine's unfounded crusade to bust Victor a few months ago when it was going on, and I'm not crazy about it now. I'm annoyed, actually, that it's being brought back up. Second, I would like to know if Y&R filmed that flashback at the time. Was that extended scene something that happened at the time, or did they go back and refilm it retroactively? Like, are we experiencing a rewrite right now is my main question. And so if it is a rewrite, or I don't know, either way, what about the pill popping? Did that just disappear? Why would they show us that twice and then never again, unless this is a story that's being molded along the way? That's starting to make me feel like maybe that's what's going on right now. Is any of that still relevant? And no matter what, none of this excuses JT's behavior as of late. Okay, fine, he's undercover. Fine, okay, I guess I can accept that on one level, but that doesn't explain all of the weird, creepy things he's been saying to Victoria. It doesn't explain his attitude toward her, his hostility. Maybe it's all of the above. Maybe he is undercover. Maybe he's got a drug problem. I just don't know. It feels like, I feel like Y&R wanted that extended flashback scene to help me make sense of things, or to make an excuse for some things, or like that was supposed to be an aha, it all makes sense now moment. But it made it worse for me. Because now JT is actively deceiving Victoria on top of everything else that was going on. Blah, 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 blah. They had another argument. Every week is an argument between JT and Victoria, and in order to make up for their Valentine's Day mess, they decided to do a Valentine's Day redo, and they get all dressed up and they're gonna go out again. I was personally offended by having to look at Victoria in that red rose dress again. This is, I think, the third time we've seen her in that dress. I guess I get, I get spoiled a little bit by seeing different fashions every episode. And now, I can't believe she went upstairs and put on the same dress. That's never happened, I don't think, on Y&R. Why couldn't they at least just have worn something else? Well, they go out and, they think they're going to have an actual redo of Valentine's Day. They think they're going to be at the top of the tower, but JT has screwed up the reservation, and he's pretty much blaming it on, or taking out his hostility on the poor guy that runs the restaurant. And Victoria's trying to smooth it over with her baby boyfriend, the way she always does, and they end up at a hot dog cart downtown, and everything's fine. It all works out only because Victoria is willing to baby him. And then they go home, they snuggle up, they make nice, and then afterwards, JT's trying to pry information out of her about Victor and bluggity blue. At this point, I'm just thoroughly confused. How much of JT's behavior is true, and how much of it is part of the con? When he says, I love you, does he mean it? On a chilly Genoa City morning in February, it begins. Doesn't that sound like a line? It's like a first line of a book or something. That was our quote from last week. Quite a few of you guessed that it was Jack who said it. Jack is always kind of sentimental. It almost sounds like a line that would come out of Jack's mouth. He was in the park at the Chancellor Cafe talking with Victoria about their big plan to make it look like Ashley is a mole at Newman Enterprises. And he, again, just very sentimentally is acknowledging that this is the beginning of a big plan. We didn't get any movement on that story this week, though, but quite a few people guessed the quote. So congratulations, Henry, Jamie, Tony, Harper, Erica, Irene, Ambreen, Aaron, Janice, Tanya, and Ellen. Congratulations, you guys. Let's do another quote this week. What color is the sky in your world? I like that line. I don't know why. What color is the sky in your world? The color of the sky in my world is gold. I'm gonna go gold. What color is the sky in your world? If you think you know who said it, go to yrchat.com and leave me your guess so that you can get it right and get your shout out on next week's Y&R Chat. So many comments, so let's start reading them. Ellen had an interesting note about the sets and some of the lighting and the scenes that have been going on the show recently. Ellen says there have been a number of scenes shot in front of a window lately where that daylight is streaming in through a shade. I really like the technical changes we're getting. We're seeing new angles on the sets, mood lighting, more conversation in cars, more movement in general. I just wish the storylines were as good as the production quality. I'm glad you mentioned that, Ellen, because I was thinking that we had that scene with JT and Victoria last week where they were, they were, I think, shaded and the background was very bright. We had another scene this week in Billy and Phyllis's apartment as Phyllis is filling Billy in on all of the dirty details surrounding Chelsea and her secret and the hunt for Chelsea. And I think it was extremely bright in the apartment, and it is notable. It's a notable change in the way that some of the scenes are being filmed. And it's interesting also that when Y&R in the early days, I think, started airing, they received a lot of accolades specifically for the way the show was filmed darker. And I think that was one of the things that really pulled me into the show in the 90s when I started watching, the fact that it didn't look like a soap opera. It had more dramatic, more contrast. It felt like it was visually darker than other shows that were in during daytime. And it made it more distinct in that way. And now here we are, 45 years into the show, and we are seeing some very different, some big changes in the way the show looks and moves, and the fact that it's, it almost seems like too bright in some of the scenes. It's like over contrast, like the characters in the foreground are almost difficult to see sometimes because of that like blast of brightness. I wonder if you guys are noticing that too, the visual changes. But I do like also, Ellen, that you mentioned about the movement, being in cars. Yes, we're seeing the camera following in different ways. There is a very clear sense that we are working under a new regime here, and in some ways it's good, in some ways it's it could be better. Let's see. But as you say, I wish the storylines were as good as the production quality. Sometimes they are. Sandra at yrchat.com left a comment early in the week thinking about where we were going to be going with the Chelsea storyline, and I thought this was just an interesting comment, keeping in mind that I think Sandra left this on Monday, saying, I just hope that when the truth comes out with Chelsea and Nick, that Chelsea's there to face it. I'd hate to have the truth come out and then Chelsea runs off with Connor. I want to be witness to all the drama and the fallout. Well, that's how I felt too. And now here we are after Friday's show. It is a bit of a disappointment that we possibly won't get to see Nick confront Chelsea. I'm presuming that she is just gone. We may see a little hint of her into next week, but I think for the most part, we're not going to get any kind of resolution or payoff between Nick and Chelsea, which is a little bit sad. Gary left me a voicemail saying, to me, the secret itself that Christian is not Nick's son just seems like small potatoes. Does anybody else feel this way? I think this is an interesting point, Gary, that I wanted to highlight because it speaks to my own trouble in understanding why Chelsea's character went down the way it did, because the lie and the covering up of the lie was so much bigger than the original paternity issue. Don't you think that Nick could have handled the truth if Chelsea and Victor and everyone had just been upfront with him in the beginning? Chelsea and Nick could have still had their happy family and their happy life. There's no reason that this paternity secret ever needed to escalate the way that it did. And in some ways, yeah, I think that's what it had created a disconnect for me in the story. The stakes just got raised so high when the original issue was, as you say, small potatoes. I also thought this was an interesting interpretation. Gary says, was Chelsea wanting to adopt both kids because then she could take them away and it wouldn't legally be kidnapping? I hadn't thought about that at all. I immediately just assumed that it was about establishing legal guardianship for both of them. I hadn't even thought about the fact that it might have been part of Chelsea's getaway plan. I mean, well, I don't think we'll ever know. It's tough because, again, it's a leap between, the character and the writing, and I wish we had some more time to have let this all play out. That's the thing. Chelsea's a longtime character on the show. So much has gone into everything she's thought, everything she is, and then the dramatic goodbye was 2 weeks long. There's no way Y&R didn't know about the fact that that Melissa Claire wanted to leave the show. I wonder why it happened so quickly. Harper left me a voicemail saying, I haven't cried at an episode of Y&R probably since the 90s, but this was really sad. My heart goes out to Nick, of course, but my heart also goes out to Chelsea. She's a product of her environment. Chelsea was raised with a scamming mother, and scamming is all she knows. Even though she has this amazing life, there's still a part of her that feels like she has to protect herself because at any moment it could be ripped out from under her. Yes, Harper, I was surprised with the amount of empathy that I felt for Chelsea because I started out the week being really mad at her. Her motives, her frame of mind really came into clearer view for me as the week went on, and I felt sad too. I was sitting there watching it feeling like I wanted to cry. I didn't for some reason, but I felt gut-wrenched watching it. Connor left me a voicemail saying if they're going to end the story of Chelsea, they need to bring back Dylan. Chelsea passed Connor off as Dylan's son, and unbeknownst to him, he was raising Christian as Sully. So if you think about it, Dylan was the proclaimed father to both of Adam's children. So Dylan needs to be back in this story. That would have been a good tie-in. Of course, Steve Burton is tied in with General Hospital now, but yeah, it's a symptom of the fact that there just were so many other possible ways that this whole Chelsea thing could have gone down. I wonder how you guys are going to vote in that poll and if you were ultimately pleased with it. Anna left me a voicemail saying, is this the end of Chelsea, or are they going to show her next week? She was talking to that mysterious person on the phone. Could it be a signal that she's going to live with her mother? I don't know if we've seen the last of Chelsea or not. I kind of wonder if they will do a little bit of wrap up on Monday. Daisy on Facebook says, I think Y&R is trying to make it seem like Chelsea called Adam, but it was probably her mother. I would be happily surprised if it were Adam, but I think he's in the abyss of the Y&R bad storylines. But not to worry, that's where Chelsea's headed. Maybe they'll team up to get back at Phyllis for how she treated them. Awful storyline. I'm not happy with Chelsea stealing and leaving at all. You know what? That whole Adam thing was probably a complete red herring. I should have known better even then to bring it up, because every time we say, oh, maybe Adam's behind it, he never is. I completely agree. Anna, Daisy, it's probably Chelsea being on the phone with her mother or something. There's just no way if Chelsea knew Adam was alive, she even would have been telling Nick how much she loved him. And I just think if Adam was alive, she would have probably just brought Christian. So yeah, red herring as always. Let's just never talk about Adam being recast again, ever, unless he actually is recast and we see his face on the show. Deal? Deal. Liz at yrchat.com says, I'm loving the pairing of Sharon and Phyllis as an investigative duo. It's just so much fun watching the two of them feeding off of each other. But why did they have to solve the DNA issues so quickly? I was hoping their sleuthing would last a few more weeks so we could continue to see them scheming together to bring Chelsea down. Isn't there something else they can investigate? Yes. Liz, I totally enjoyed that part of the story. Once again, everything was so quick. All of that would have, in another world, have taken a little bit longer. And there are positives and negatives to that. We would have probably been complaining if it would have dragged on too long. But boy, it was lickety-split quicko. More Sharon and Phyllis for sure. We do need to find something else they can work on together. Oh, let's switch gears a little bit. Sandra also left a comment at yrchat.com saying, I really appreciate how Y&R has brought Kevin back several times since he and Bella moved away. I hope it continues. I think it's a great practice for the show to let characters move on in different ways away from Genoa City without killing them off or sending them to prison, and bring them back to the canvas every once in a while, much in the way that Tracy is able to have her own life in New York but still be part of our Y&R GC world. I hope they do the same thing with Noah. Don't just send him to India, never to be seen again, or Summer, who's still on her 18-month-long vacation. Yeah, I think there should be some flexibility there. I would, have your core cast. Yeah, sure. I understand you can't keep everybody on permanent contract, but I do, that's a good point, that I do like the way they're kind of just weaving in, people like Kevin, for a cameo here and there. They're still around, even if they're not in the forefront. Diana at yrchat.com says, Nicky must have done something right. Arturo can't seem to get enough of her. He keeps calling Nicky since their rendezvous. LOL. Maybe he'll become a stalker of Genoa City. That'd be an interesting storyline. Bring on Arturo. Well, I don't know if I want to see him necessarily be a stalker, but it is interesting that he seems to be very interested in Nicky. That's the first mention we've really had of it since the night after. I don't know if we're ever going to see him again. That's a good question. Oh, Cheyenne at yrchat.com wants to weigh in on Hilary. Cheyenne says, I'm very upset at the way Hilary was treated this week. I hate that they all blamed Hilary for Juliet's sexual harassment lawsuit. I understand Hilary was wrong for encouraging her to file a false sexual lawsuit, but Juliet didn't have any mental problems to where she didn't know right from wrong. I also didn't like how Lily and Kane totally blamed her for the marriage falling apart. Kane was the one who cheated, sabotaged Billy at work, stole from children, and on top of it all had a child outside of his marriage. Plus, Lily almost got fired because of what Kane did to Billy. One last thing. As I love Hilary and Devon together, I don't want to see Hilary begging Devon or his family for forgiveness anymore. They have all become such a bunch of judgmental hypocrites. Yeah, I know it does. It's tough because it's like, well, I want Hilary and Devon together, but I think Y&R has exhausted. I think they've just exhausted it. They've exhausted the Hilary character. I can't remember who it was. Someone mentioned, I don't remember someone mentioned on the website that they thought maybe Hilary was going to end up like murdered or something. I mean, we've been losing so many characters. Is it possible that maybe Y&R's gonna dump her? I hope not. I mean, she's so interesting to me. I think they need to do something different, something better. I thought she was getting better, and now it's like they're trying to drag her back into the muck. I would have been happier if that zip drive thing just never came up. Doesn't it feel like Mal is trying to bring in storylines that were kind of happening at the end before he took over, like the paternity, Victor, the crusade against Victor, Juliet. It would have been okay to let this one go. Some things are okay to let go. The other thing about it is that I think that if you weren't, sometimes I feel like they're trying so hard to incorporate past stories that if you weren't watching, then it might be a little bit confusing. Sometimes I still have a hard time keeping track of what the heck was going on with Christian and his paternity and blah, blah. I mean, it makes my head spin a little bit. Some things it's okay to just move on. Okay, let's switch into JT real quick. Superplex at yrchat.com says, the decision to add another dimension to the JT character was very impressive. I can really get into the transformation of JT into a super sleuth for Paul and Christine, even to the point of tolerating his insolent personality. Of particular interest was the penultimate scene of yesterday's episode when JT was sleeping with Victoria while exploiting the opportunity to press her on dirt involving Newman Enterprises. It demonstrated that he was not above utilizing his sexual prowess to advance his agenda. I can, however, empathize with the reason why he chose to betray Victoria. He was facing prison time after Paul and Christine pulled a Mutt and Jeff routine on him when he, all he intended to do was rescue Nicky from an unjustifiable prison sentence. You know what? It is a twist. It adds an element to JT's character. I'll definitely give it that. It's just I remember JT being a sleuth, a super sleuth with Paul, and it was a good place. I liked the teaming of Paul and JT. This seems so much more pressury, and somehow adding Christine into the mix seems extra pressury. And I don't know that I like the idea that they're pressuring him to do this. Well, then again, you know what? They're definitely pressuring him to do the undercover work, but they're not pressuring him to do it the way he's doing it. That's his choice. But much like we discussed last week, all of the things that JT's doing are still making for a very interesting story, whether you like him or not. It is something to sink your teeth into and to puzzle you and to watch. And even if I'm watching the show going, I hate him, it's still a reaction. It's still an emotion. And that is in part what I'm still looking for the show. So good on them. Oh, Anna also left me a voicemail saying Paul and Christine are on a witch hunt. They don't know what Victor is guilty of, but they keep pursuing that he's guilty of something. Is that really the best way to allocate resources? Yes, Anna, what do they even think Victor has done? They just think he's done something, so they're getting someone on the inside to find out what that something must have been. It is a witch hunt. It's a little annoying. I don't really like it, to be honest with you. Aaron on YouTube makes a good prediction here. What is going on with JT could be mood swings. He could be suffering from mental problems, or that, Aaron poses that question. It is still possible. That's possible. He could have a mental issue that they're going to focus on in the future. I don't know. Robbie at yrchat.com says, remember when JT hit on Abby? That was a really random move, hitting on your ex-wife's sister. He's been doing a lot of random moves, but that initial Abby situation could have tipped everyone off. Someone needs to call Mac. I would love to see Victoria or Reed call Mac to get her side of the story. If something's up with JT, Mac, all the people, they should know exactly what it is. Yes, Robbie, exactly. Someone just needs to fact check with Mac. There was a comment that JT made this week when he was having his yet another argument with Victoria. Victoria didn't know where JT was. He stood her up for lunch, so she called security to find out whether he left the building. And JT was very offended by the idea that Victoria would be tracking him. And he said something to the effect of, well, that's what Mac used to do to me. She used to check the odometer on my car to find out where I had been. Okay, is that true? Is that part true? Because if that's the case, then I trust Mac's word at this point more than JT's. That tells me that he probably was going off and having affairs or cheating or something, and it was enough to make his wife check the odometer on his car. If that's true, something's up there, and a good fact-checking mission is what is needed. Marianne sent me a message to let me know that we may very well just get that because Kelly Kruger, ex-Mac, and David Scott Lago, ex-Raul, are headed back to Genoa City, both characters having a connection to JT. So Y&R's having their 45th anniversary. I think says it's beginning in March, during the week of March 26th, Marianne says in the article she shared. So Mac's going to come back. Maybe she will shed some light on what's going on with JT. I really liked Raul. I thought he was very cute, and I'm very excited to see him. I haven't seen him in a while, so it'll be interesting to get a good gander at him. But Marianne sent me this article also that mentions we got a few more people, like classic people, coming back to the show for the 45th anniversary. Jamie Lynn Bauer, who played Lori Brooks, I do remember her, and Janice Lind playing Leslie Brooks, will reprise their roles during the week of March 26th. Joining them will be Meg Bennett, who made her Y&R debut in 1980 as Julia Newman, the wife of Victor Newman. Oh, that's going to be good too. I remember Lori a little bit better. They brought Lori on at some point in the 90s, I believe. She had some role at Newman, or she was interacting with Victor, I think, in some way. So I remember her a little bit more clearly. I don't remember Leslie personally, but I know Leslie, Lori, their sisters. They were at the very, very OG Genoa City. So I'm sure that a lot of our viewers who have been watching since the beginning will remember them and will be excited about that. And of course, also Julia Newman. I think Julia was the woman who Victor was married to when he came on to the show. So this is the pre-Nicky days. All of that I think is going to be excellent. I am going to be hoping that Y&R continues the parade of stars that they could bring onto our show in celebration of 45 years of Y&R. That is no small accomplishment. So we got a month to go, but let's all look forward to what Y&R has in store for that celebration for us. Okay, everybody, it's time for me to get going, but I wanted to make sure to let you guys know first that next week I am going to be doing an audio blog only. So you'll get the podcast if you listen to just the podcast, and I will post that also on YouTube, but I won't be in physical form for you. I have a very, very busy, crazy week going on toward the end of the week, and I have a feeling that I'm not going to be, a pretty positive feeling that I'm not going to be finishing Y&Rs until probably early on Sunday morning, so I am not going to have a whole lot of time to pull myself together, so I'm just going to pull out the microphone and do an audio blog next week, so just a heads up. I still will be reading your comments though. yrchat.com is where you can leave them. I know you guys are going to have a lot to say about Chelsea this week, and I can't wait to hear it. So go to yrchat.com or call the voicemail 309-588-4569. Anything you want to say is welcome. I look forward to hearing you guys and getting your thoughts on the show. Okay, time for me to go. I hope everybody has a really, really good week. I love you, and you'll hear from me next Sunday. Bye.